So it's funny how things work out. God provides you exactly what you need when you need it.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You get that help, that divine intervention, and bring the universe, God, source, whatever names we're comfortable with, bring you that help that you need at the right time. And Michael Beckwith also says that there's two type of growth that we go through. It's two type of like, excuse me, two type of suffering. Well, only one is suffering. You have the Kensho and then you have the Satori, where the Kensho, you go through suffering and you get to a point where you feel like this is my rock bottom and I don't think I can possibly get any lower. So the only place from here is for me to get higher, to really say, I'm tired of living like this. And it's time for me to take my life to the next level. And then you have this Satori where you intentionally invest in growing yourself and intentionally, get to the next level of your life. And I think most people can relate to Kensho, to the suffering where you say, listen, I'm getting up every day and I'm living the same life over and over again, just different days.
Yes, that's exactly where we were. And I think it's interesting because I don't think that we knew it. I think we knew it. I think energetically we felt it. We felt it in our heart and soul, but I don't think mentally we had quite identified how miserable we really were. And there's got to be something better. But I do think we both were at that point where we knew that this might not be cutting it. And so it wasn't until we got in that room with 8-10 other women that really and truly had been exposed to some of the tools that we are starting to teach folks. But they were still in the same place we were. They were all still kind of beginning. And to have that open dialogue, especially with women where there is no pretentiousness, there's no competing with each other. There's nobody's trying to look better than the other. It was just raw and real. Yes. And to be in that room with those women and all really talking about where we were, like where we really were, and hearing some of them who are a little outside of that talking about where they're starting to get to, it was really the spark we needed. We talk about our pilot light, and it was really what started turning that flame up on the pilot light for us.
Yes, yes. And I truly believe that the universe allows us sometimes to go through moments of pain in order to help us to stretch and grow, because we can't grow when we're in a negative space. So I believe that the universe brought you two back together, after you had went your separate ways after college, to really create this powerhouse that you have now, to be able to help people who are going through what you went through. I know if I can speak for myself, I first became introduced to the law of attraction in the early 2000s. However, I was not applying what I was learning. I knew that and still know that my thoughts are creating my reality, and I have to be careful what I think about, because thoughts become things. But we both know, all three of us, that if we don't apply what we're learning, then you're just back to square one. And I wasn't applying what I was learning. So therefore, I was getting up every day, blaming my son, my infant son, for me not progressing in my career. And I would just constantly live in a victim mentality. And how you go through the day, and then at the end of the day, you're going through the list. Okay, what did I get done today? And then if you have nothing checked off, then you feel like a loser. You beat yourself up. And that's what I was doing. I wasn't being grateful. I just wasn't in that space. And I knew I was supposed to, but I wasn't implementing it. So can you talk to that? Have you ever found yourself in that space where you knew that you weren't supposed to think a certain way, say a certain thing, but yet you're allowing that negative space or thoughts to take you over?
Absolutely. And it's so funny that our stories are so similar to yours, Nadine, because Tonya and I remember the authors of The Secret and those that were on The Secret movie being on Oprah back in the late 90s, I think it was. And both of us felt something when we saw that. And we, it planted that little seed about law of attraction with us, but we also weren't implementing it in our lives. And so it's almost like it had to come back around when we were right and ready for it. When we were in that space that you're exactly talking about, that negative mind space of I remember having conversations with my husband, like, what are we working so hard for? Like, is this all there is? Like, all it is work and eat and sleep and get up and do it again? Because I don't know that I want to sign up for this. Like, this isn't what I thought life was going to be. And I think a lot of people just, maybe they go through the motions like we were going through the motions of that and don't ever stop to take a look at what's really happening. Like, it's hard to look at what's not working. It is very difficult to be very honest with yourself. One of the things that we did at the retreat was a life inventory, where we looked at all the different areas of your life, from health and relationships and finance and business and joy. And Tonya and I, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is you are knocking it out of the park, we were not above a 4 or a 5 on any area of our life. And that is hard to be honest about. And it is hard to accept, because especially I think if you're out there alone and you're feeling that way, it's hard to look at it because you don't have any tools or resources to get you. So what are you going to do? You're going to look at it and have a hard truth that nothing's working, but then you're stuck there. That's where that retreat really helped to catapult us, because not only did we take an inventory, but then so many tools and techniques and things like that were shared with us of the next step we can take to make those numbers better and for those areas of our life to improve. And that's what we're teaching others how to do today.
Yes, yes. And you touched upon something that was very important. It is much easier to blame. It's much easier to point the finger. It really, like, I can speak from myself, because I was doing the same thing to my infant son, blaming him all the time for not, giving me the room to create. And when you really realize that you are responsible for 100% of your life, it really hits you.
And it's a hard pill to swallow.
It really is. It's a hard pill to swallow. So what are some of the tools that you currently have to really, like, let's say someone is listening right now who's really struggling, who's going through what we, all three of us went through, and is really trying their darnest to climb up out of that dark hole, and because they know they have potential within them. What are some of the tools do you offer to help that particular person, our listeners?
Well, and I'll say, when we did the inventory and we started at that retreat, it was an eye-opener, and it was so new to us. Like, every single thing we started learning, we were ahas. We were like, oh my gosh, and it's so easy. However, it is also a habit. And so creating a habit and uncreating a habit is not easy, right? So we can tell you it's easy because it's simple. Like, the things that you do every day are still simple, but creating the habits and letting go of some bad habits, that's where the rubber meets the road. So we started real simple with affirmations, being grateful for things like they've already happened. We started by changing our language, starting to talk about what we do want and not what we don't want. We started believing that everything we wanted was at our disposal, at our fingertips, and all we had to do was ask and be grateful up front. We started saying gratitude every single day, multiple times a day. We started meditating. That's a hard one for a lot of people, especially, moms and busy women. We don't take, first of all, we won't take the time to sit down for 20 minutes. And secondly, we can't turn our brains off. It is a to-do list in motion, right? And so we started with 3 minutes a day, literally 3 minutes a day. And it took me years to get past that 3 minutes, but it is huge as far as getting yourself established first thing and wanting to be successful throughout the day. But it's little things in that gratitude and the way we change. And then, Lori's got some ones that she uses too, because we switch and change every day. Like, something works one day or 1 week and it doesn't the next month because I'm in a different mind space.
Yes, absolutely. It's the stories that we tell ourselves. It's the story that we keep replaying over and over and over again. The subconscious mind just grabs a hold of it and plays it back to you. And if you don't catch yourself, you're wondering like, why am I feeling so miserable? Why is it that I keep, for me, I remember I would always just sit down and remember old things that people did to me. And I would find myself just cussing them out in my mind. And then I would catch myself. I'm like, oh, like, why am I doing this? So until you really get to a point where you say enough is enough, I will not live another year like this. I will not live another day like this, not another moment. It's unbearable. Then until you get to that point, then your life won't change. And like you said, it's just the easy things. I am grateful, writing that down. You know, I am grateful to be able to, there's always something to be grateful for. You're listening to this podcast, you have ears. A lot of people are not able to hear, you know, so there's always something to be grateful for. So take me on a moment where you're able to, where your friends and families are now able to see the new Lori and the new Tonya, and they're like, what happened? Are you able?
I've got several examples where my husband doesn't really, I'd say he doesn't know exactly what Tonya and I do, nor does he want to know, but he knows that we've gone and gotten training and certification, and not exactly sure what we're up to some days. But even now, that whole stopping blaming and complaining and actually taking 100% responsibility for yourself and changing how we talk and how we think, he calls me on things to this day, because I've still got a tendency. I was so in the habit of speaking negatively about myself and to myself, thinking I should be better than I am. And that's a hard habit to break when you've spent years and years of your life just sort of putting yourself down. And so even to this day, I slip up and he will call me on it, which means that he knows that I think that's important. I think talking and the words we use and how we speak and how we think is important enough that he realizes that and knows to call me on it. And he actually reframes things he's saying too. So I feel like when they start doing, even though he doesn't know really what we're all about, he started to incorporate, I don't even think he knew the word manifest 3 years ago, and now he uses it almost daily.
Yes, it's amazing when you change, the people around you also change.
Yeah.
They either fall off or they change to match your new vibration.
It's amazing how many people have come along this ride with us that we did not expect.
Wow.
And that, I've changed the entire tone of my house. It went from hustle and bustle, a single mom with 3 children, and everybody, talking loud and obnoxious to each other. And there's always this, like the hamster wheel again. And now it's just kind of this even, it's this good energy. It's a good place to be.
Yes.
And you can walk in my home, even people who have not been in my house in a while will walk in and go, wow, it just feels so good in here. What did you change? What did you do? Did you get new curtains? Is that a new couch? And I'm like, it's just the energy that I create now versus, and Lori will tell you, I used to buzz. And she told me one time, like, I couldn't sit down. Like, I could feel my energy outside of my body, and I could hear the buzz in my ear constantly. And it's such an unusual thing, and you don't realize you do it until somebody points it out. And then you're like, oh my gosh, and I no longer buzz. And it is the most amazing feeling ever.
That's amazing. A lot of us, including myself, fortunately, I work on myself on a daily basis, because all 3 of us know that once we stop doing the work, it's very possible to go back to where we're coming from. So it's the daily work. And there's a lot of people who are outside of their bodies. They're just not connected to just being one with themselves. And that comes with really taking care of yourself, because especially us women, we wear so many hats, and we don't take the time out to say, hey, I've got to fill my cup up first. I cannot start from an empty cup. I've got to take care of myself before I can take care of you. Even in the airplane, they always tell you, in the case of an emergency, put on your oxygen mask first, because they know, excuse me, it's imperative to fill yourself up first before you take care of other people. So what are some of the routines that you do on a daily basis to fill yourself up first before you tend to other people?
Yeah, I think we both, Tonya and I both believe that that little bit of space right when you wake up in the morning and the little bit of space right before you go to sleep at night are such important key times every single day. So if you can't do anything all day, at least those two little spaces of time incorporate some of these things. So some of the things that we do, like smile. As soon as you wake up, you smile. As soon as my feet hit the floor in the morning, left foot thank, right foot you, all the way to the restroom. You know, both of us journal. We do it differently. Tonya can share hers, but I do mine at night typically, or during the day. I don't do that first thing in the morning. And journal, I think it's evolved for me because when you're not used to doing that, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. What am I supposed to write? That kind of thing. And so I've sort of evolved to all those things that I really want to say out loud, but I don't want to bring that energy to me. I'll write them down and then cancel them out and write what I do want instead. Mm-hmm. And that works for me right now. That's not how I've always journaled. There's no right or wrong. You can do however you want, but I think a journal is a good place to put the stuff that's feeling yucky in your body and in your mind. Meditate, like Tonya said, that's another thing. But it's just really being grateful that you've woken up that morning and that you've got a new day ahead of you, and really treating every day like a fresh start for me.
And I think something else that we have started doing more of is, like you said, putting ourselves first. So with me, I've got a lot of reasons why I shouldn't go to that retreat. I got a lot of reasons why I shouldn't go take that class, or why we should not have spent the money we did on a podcast class, or why we, you know, so there's a lot of reasons why I shouldn't. And that used to be my driver, right? The boys need this, or the boys need that, or my house needs this. And what I found is when I spend time and effort and energy into me, when it's better in myself, when it's going to that trade show with rocks and stones that we love so much, when it's doing those things, it comes back to me, right? So I spend the money, I spend the time, I really do put myself in a place to be happy and joyful. And the money I spent tenfold, the time and energy I spent, I get that back from other people. It just is amazing when you do it, what comes back. You know, just like giving, a lot of times I do random acts of kindness where I pay for people's meals in restaurants, or I just random things. And sometimes I don't have the finances to do it, but there's a calling on my heart. And I tell you, as soon as I do it, it is no doubt returned to me in some way, shape, or form by 10. And it's interesting that it feels so good that I don't even need the return. What I got was how good the feeling was. And so I think it's doing those things, anything, whatever it is for you that fills your cup and makes you smile, is what we should be doing and taking the time to do.
Beautiful, beautiful. So what is your mission for Finding Your Way?
I think for us, it really has been going from, we know how hard it was for us to get to the retreat and how many years we spent needing to be there. And then how many years we spent learning. And we are in South Carolina, and, you know, 5 years ago, a lot of the stuff that's starting to be mainstream now wasn't, and we didn't have exposure and access. And so what we did was we manhandled that group of women, and we made them like weekly have a call with us. What have you been doing? Where have you been going? What have you been reading? What podcast you listening to? Like we literally were pulling the information from them and making us tell them about every single thing they were doing. And we had to, because we weren't in a space to be around that type of information. And so what we really, our mission is to take all the things we've learned, and it took us years to learn, and to be able to give it to folks quickly so that they don't have to go find it, to put easy, usable tools in place and show you not only what they are and how to use it, but how we've used them and how they've transformed our lives. So really and truly, it's about sharing everything we've learned so other people don't have to struggle like we did to get to where we are.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm sure a lot of people can is able to relate to what you two went through, and can really use the materials and your story to uplift themselves, because the world is in need of help. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that don't even know that they're living the same life over and over again. There's a lot of people out there that don't even realize that they're suffering because they're so used to living in that habitual space, that routine of waking up and not feeling fulfilled. It has become a second nature to them. So, you know, I really love what both of you are doing, taking your stories and putting it together and say, hey, we're two normal women, you know, we've been through hell, and now we came back and we're ready to share with you what we have learned, so you don't have to continue down that path of feeling empty and continue down that path of feeling unworthy and undeserving, because that's what it all boils down to. Like a lot of us, I know for myself, I used to walk around feeling unworthy and undeserving, but I didn't know that I was feeling that way. I didn't realize it until I started doing the work. And when you start doing the work, you're like, wow, I really was thinking that way. So, you know, beautiful, beautiful. So how can people connect with you both?
Yeah, so we've got several different ways. Our website is highernavigation.com, which is HIGHER navigation.com. Like you said, we have a podcast, which is how we met the beautiful Nadine Grace. And it is called Finding Your Way with Lori and Tonya on all your podcast players. And then one thing we're very proud of, we started a Facebook group years ago when we were first starting this journey. All we saw was negative crap in our Facebook feed. And so we started this group for the simple purpose of we needed to see more positivity, because we know what we think about, we bring about. And so that is called the Positive Vibe Tribe. It is a private Facebook group, but all are welcome. And you can get to that through our website, or you can just look us up on Facebook. But we'd love for all of your listeners to connect with us and take the journey with us.
Yes, I can speak to the positive vibe tribe, because it is like, as soon as I log on to Facebook and I see, because you said Facebook is filled with a lot of pretense and negativity and stuff that you don't want into your consciousness. So it is a breath of fresh air when I log in and I see a positive post coming from both of you and other people in the group, and everyone is so loving and supportive. So, you know, it's a wonderful, wonderful tribe to be a part of, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. It's been a labor of love, and we've grown. We're growing, and we've got almost 16,000, 17,000 members. It's insane, and it's amazing how many people will message us just to say thank you. We needed something positive in our newsfeed, which was exactly the purpose of the group.
Yes, because as I said before, people are looking for change. And so what you two are doing is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So thank you both so much for stopping by. I had so much fun. I'm sure that I will be asking you both again to come back.
Well, we are so happy to be here. We love you. We love exactly what you're doing. Your energy is contagious. Your listeners are so fortunate to have found you, and we are so fortunate to have found you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, we're together now because the universe conspired for all of us to be together. Yes. So thank you both, ladies. I really appreciate this. And I know my listeners are able to take a lot of things that you have shared with using gratitude as a way to raise your vibration, and just taking at least 10 minutes out of your day to have some alone time to quiet your mind, to realize the stories that you're telling yourself can either build you up or tear you down, to have that time where you say, hey, listen, I have to come first. I know that I have kids, I know that I have a family, but in order to take care of you, mommy has to put herself first. Or if daddies are listening, daddies have to put themselves first. We just have to put ourselves first. So thank you for all the wonderful tools that you've shared. And I look forward to seeing you both grow and evolve and just change the world, make it a better place. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.